Hello, everybody. Big round of applause to JS conference. I'm so happy to be here talking about Qwik. And I don't want to convince you to use Qwik instead of Astro, React, Next. There are a lot of frameworks. But my goal is to explain you the mentality behind Qwik, and then you will decide your best solution. So I want to start with my journey with Qwik. I met the creator of Angular and angular.js at the conference, and he told me about this new framework, Qwik. Then from June 2022 to today, I'm collaborating with the team to create features, use cases, solve bugs. So my journey was quite long, but basically I'm a developer. So I like create a beautiful application like this one. Most of them are medium complexity. So as you can see here, we have charts, we have some buttons, and so on and so forth. So the amount of JavaScript the application needs is really, really high. Here we have the average JavaScript on the page amount the year. So we can see that many years ago the JavaScript was minimal, but now is really huge. So we end up with that most site doesn't pass the core web vitals. So if we test, for example, klm.com, I book my flights for here for this conference in klm.com, and then I decided to test it with page speed insights. So the performance of this website is really bad. So obviously is a slow 4G with a mobile phone, but the time to interactive is 23 seconds, so really, really bad. There is another tool, builder.io, the company behind Qwik. He built this tool, Performance Insights. So here you can see your performance, and I test KLM. And then you can see that if you optimize the images, you can reach time to interactive 8 seconds, CSS as well. But if we finally optimize the JavaScript, we are able to have time to interactive 2 seconds, so pretty good. Okay, with this performance, we run this tool against the top 50 e-commerce website. The font is a little bit slow, a little bit small, but the first one is Amazon.com, is quite good. The other one, maybe Walmart.com, is not good. And we can analyze this data, and we can see that the bottleneck is in the JavaScript. So the problem maybe it can be the JavaScript. So slow website developers are the problem for this website that are so slow. I don't think so, because 50 website can be all slow. Maybe there is a framework that is something wrong in the framework. So let's imagine a website. Imagine a website with pure HTML and CSS without any JavaScript. And only if we interact with the page, like press on order details button over there, we are able to execute the JavaScript needed to animate the page. Only if we interact with the page, we are executing some JavaScript. So basically, vanilla HTML and CSS. With this idea in mind, Qwik was born, and now is in beta, but soon we will release the release 1. I'm a contributor, I'm not a core team, but I know that soon the release will be shipped. So, great. Let's have a demo about Qwik. So here, Qwik application. I create this application from the starter. And as you can see, we have the source folder. Inside the source folder, we have roots with many files. and is root based on the folders, okay? More or less like other server-side rendering framework. We have component and so on and so forth. Here in the index, I create a simple component. And as you can see, the syntax is JSX. We have this special API, components $, and then we have our handle click wrapped by $. This sign is a special sign for the optimizer to create a specific chunk for this special function. So we have this function here, and then we have this button. So every time we click this button, we are able to console log something and increase the counter. So in the console log, we are using Lodash. So we import the Lodash and the JS. Great. So let's run the application in dev mode. Under the hood, we are using Vite. So we have a Vite config and some plugins on top of standard configuration. So if we going into localhost here, we have our Qwik application. As you can see, we have a lot of integrations like Azure, Cloudflare, Netlify, Vercel, and we have also React Playwright, a lot of integration. And we are able also to create a static site generation. Great. So here, if we open the dev tool and we disable the JavaScript, and we refresh the page, the application is still working because we don't need any kind of JavaScript. So let's enable again the JavaScript. The only JavaScript we need is this one here. We have the quick loader. Is more or less 1 kilobyte of JavaScript. You can't see the dev tool, or yes. Okay, 1 kilobyte of JavaScript, and this JavaScript is needed to load the specific chunk. But let's go into deep about this. So if we open the network tab, we refresh. Here there are some JavaScript from Vite, but because we are in dev mode, okay. So if we click on the counter, you can see that the Qwik is going to load something from the some JavaScript, okay? So it's loading our handle click, so console log Lodash, the JS, and increasing the counter, only the first time, of course. And then is loading also the dependency, Lodash and the JS, because we are using it. So if you imagine a React application when it include a lot of dependency, the final bundle include also this dependency. But this is not the case. Only if we interact with that part, we pay the execution of that JavaScript. OK, let's go to the element. I would like to show you that when I refresh the page, the status of the application is paused here. Great. And as soon as I click on the counter, you can see that is resumed. That's why we call the Qwik the Resumability framework, because there is this resume status. So if I interact with the page, I resume the status of Qwik. But let's create a build, production build, with npm run build. And under the hood, there is a Rust optimizer. And instead of create one big JavaScript, one big bundle, it's going to create a lot of chunks for us. And creating also this manifest.json. If we go in this file, we can look at the handle click that is our function. And this is a map from the function and the chunk that is needed when we interact with the page. So let's run the preview, npm run preview. OK, it's building, and then it's serving. Refresh. As you can see here, in the application, we can see that the service worker is going to pre-buffering and pre-parsing all this chunk for us in a different thread. And only if we click on the button, our application is going to execute them. So here we have our console log. And here we have our dependency, low-dash and day.js. So basically, no matter how complex is our application, the initial JavaScript is only 1 kilobyte. The loader that is able to load and execute these chunks. But let's jump back again to the slides. Here. OK, basically, resumability is like a virtual machine. So in a virtual machine, we boot up the application, the system, and then we can open Visual Studio Code or something else. We can pause the virtual machine. We can pass all this file to a colleague, and then the colleague is able to play this virtual machine without rebooting all the system. So basically, more or less, we are doing the same with HTML. So pause and then resume. And this is a little chart that shows that we are executing all the logic in the server. Then we pause the status. We can cache all the things in the CDN. And then we are shipping this HTML and CSS to the browser. And then only if the user interacts with the page, we are paying the execution of the JavaScript. So with a classic approach, the amount of JavaScript is growing as the site requires more functionality. More functionality means more JavaScript in a classic approach. But with Qwik, this correlation, we broke this correlation, because only if the user interacts with a particular part, we are paying the amount of the JavaScript. Great. So the execution in a traditional framework of the JavaScript is linear, but in a resumable framework is like a step. And the complexity is the same. So with Qwik, no matter how complex is your application, you pay only 1 kilobyte of JavaScript. And with the other framework, you pay for what you get. So if you have a big application, you have a lot of JavaScript. So resumability is different from iteration. Iteration is like what we have with next, and many SvelteKit, and whatever. So in iteration, we execute all the logic, we serialize, and then we ship to the browser. Then we download mostly all the app. Then we replay the same logic into the browser. We are trying to create the old DOM if we need. And then we attach the listener. And then finally, the user can interact with the application. So we are doing 2 times the same logic. But in my mind, it was like this. How was this? Can you prove that we are doing 2 times the same things? Yes, we can prove it. And I create an iteration demo to show you that we are doing the same things in the backend and in the front end. So I open Next.js starter here. And in Next.js starter, I create this special route to create problem with the iteration. So I console log if the type of Windows is undefined. So we are in the server. We are print out server rendering. Instead, we are printing client rendering. Then we are using useState, and the state will be server rendering if the Windows is undefined, and in the browser will be client rendering. And then we are using this variable here at the line 21. So let's start the application. Okay. Here, as you can see, is a normal Next.js starter. But if we hit the check root, boom, we have a error in the console. And if we look at the page source, maybe I need to increase a little bit, we can see server rendering. So the server is shipping server rendering, but in the client, we are using client rendering. As you can see here, we have the console log, and here we have the console log as well. And next is complain about the hydration phase. An error occurred during the hydration. So this proof that server-side rendering, normal server-side rendering, is doing hydration phase. So the content didn't match server rendering, client rendering. So there is a mismatch that broke this phase. Great. So here we can go to the slides and go on with my presentation. Let's talk about real use cases. So in builder.io/showcase, we have a different application, real application, and most of them are with good performance. So out of the box, Qwik gives you the possibility to reach high level in core web vitals, SEO, optimization, so on and so forth. So it's a good metric to understand that without any kind of tooling or magic, we can do a great application. I created this use case. Is a storefront for headless e-commerce. The headless e-commerce is Venger. And I use this headless e-commerce to create this storefront in Qwik. If you scan the QR code, you can reach the website. It is public, and also the code is open source, so you can look at it. And I want to start, want to check the metrics against my use case. So let's hope. Let's take a second, and let's check. Boom. The performance are amazing. Time to interactive 1 second in a slow 4G mobile. And for the desktop is better, less than a second. So out of the box, we have the possibility to create a good product. And for me, a public website can get a lot of about this new framework. Also, the community is really great. With this URL, you can reach our Discord server, and here all the contributors and core maintainers are posting stuff to show Qwik and the flow and ideas that came in our mind. We have also a project we are creating. I'm a maintainer of this project. We are creating a design system in Qwik, and it's called Qwik UI. And let's have a look about it. So basically, here, Qwik UI. Okay, the idea is to create a library of component, and I'm really happy to help you to contribute in the project. If you are newbie about contribution in GitHub, you can reach me out in Discord or Twitter. I'm really happy to help you to contribute and start your career, your progress with open source contribution. As you can see here, we have packages, and we are trying to create an headless package with all the components. So here we have the components. And then, on top of this headless implementation, we are trying to create the material theme and also the Daisy one. So components, and then on top we are styling the headless with Daisy. Great. So, thanks for listening. I'm Giorgio Boa, full stack developer for Clarinet. I used to post and repost interesting things about the front end, so if you like, you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is Giorgio_Boa. And I'm really happy to share with you my knowledge about Qwik. And I would like to take a pitch of you and all the venue, because it's really amazing. So say hi. Thanks. Thank you.